In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the problems and difficulties associated with black and white drawings. A lot of people think that black and white drawings should be easier than color drawings because there's an absence of color and therefore no color correction necessary, which to some extent is true, but there are other problems that we have, and we'll talk about those. So here we've got a batch scan that I've done with a whole bunch of, we've got 9 different black and white drawings. We're going to select one of those drawings and we're going to make a new file, and we're going to call this file Katie Shoe 10 because that's who the picture is of. And there we have the picture. Now if we take a close look at this picture, let's bring that tool over here. You can see here, if you look at the numbers, if you look at the RGB numbers in your info dialog box, you will see that the white is not exactly white. The problem with this is that when you, it might look great on screen, but if you want to reproduce this, anywhere where you see any number other than 255, 255, 255, you're going to have some color printing. So you're going to have this beautiful white paper, and then it's going to have a very light gray overcoat where the printer has printed these numbers that you see right here. So what we need is a complete absence of color wherever we want white to be when we print. There are a number of different tricks that we use in order to get the white point back, and it really depends on the nature of the drawing. One of the simplest ones, however, is to select a color range, and you can see here in the dialog box, in the color range select dialog box, how much we've selected. And we can get to a point where we've got just about everything. But we don't want to get is these little strands of hair, little fine details that are often associated with pencil drawings and pen and ink drawings, particularly people that work in black and white in those mediums. So we're going to select that, and then we're going to do Apple J or Command J on your PC in Photoshop, and we're going to create a new layer. Now, I should bring this over here. So we're going to create a new layer, and what I've done here is I've turned the first layer off, so all we see is the upper layer here that we've selected. And you can see we've got part of her face. We've got some things in there that we don't want to get rid of. So what I'll do on that layer then is I'm going to erase some of these areas right here where we've got white or gray within the drawing that we don't want to remove. So very quickly, I'll erase some of this. Okay. And you can see if we zoom in and look very closely, you can see that I've gotten the white around the strands of her hair. And what we're going to do is we're going to fill this whole thing with pure white, which will enable us to have a beautiful print when we go to print. We're not going to have a bunch of gray on our paper in areas where we didn't intend to actually have it. And the reason that happens is that when you scan or photograph your artwork, the paper doesn't actually get seen as pure white. It has some value. It's almost impossible to get a pure white without blowing out all your colors. So to reproduce a black and white drawing is really actually very difficult to do a good job. There you can see we've gotten most of it here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our layers dialog box here, and we're going to lock the transparency on this upper layer that we've created. And then we're going to do Shift F5, and we're going to fill this with white. There you go. Now you can see a couple of little areas here. If you turn this layer, let's turn this back on. If you turn this layer on and off, you can see a couple of little areas in here where we've lost some detail and some strands of hair. So then you can go back in here and as a final step, if you want to really do a good job on the detail. Hold on. Oh. If you want to do a really good job on the detail, we're going to unlock the transparency again. And we're going to erase our eraser here. And then you go in and very carefully erase around some of these strands where you've accidentally filled them with white. You can get a couple up here. Go around your drawing. And of course, the more detailed the drawing, the more difficult it is to do this. And when there's just too much detail to go around and do this with every little tiny pen stroke, for example, in pen and ink drawings, there are some other things that we can do as well, playing with levels and curves and separate layers. But this quick tutorial should just give you an example of some of the challenges that are associated with black and white drawings and what we do to prepare a black and white drawing to make sure we have a great reproduction. Now, when we reproduce this, all of the areas here where the artist did not intend to have any color are all going to be pure white, and you're just going to see paper. You can see we missed a couple of spots. Look very, very carefully here, and you see it goes to 254 here. There are probably a couple of little things that we missed, so I'm just going to paint those in with white. Make sure we didn't miss anything at all. And you'll be surprised because this looks fantastic on screen, and yet if you don't get all of the white, then it really doesn't look good. Now that's going to print out beautifully. You're going to get great detail. Everything is going to be crisp and beautiful, and on the outside here, all you're going to see is whatever paper the artist has selected for reproduction.